I'm Daniel West. So my first stall, I was 9 years old, and it was Pet Rocks, actually. We moved in Orange Juice later on, but I'll get to that in just a second. And I am very, very, very privileged to be one of those people that is in his dream job, is where I want to be, is what everything I've worked for has led me to, and I couldn't be happier with the role that I've got now at Eumundi and what we're about to do at Eumundi. So Eumundi is the make it, bake it, sew it, grow it market on the coast, and I'm working on getting that branding right throughout our market, through our stalls, through our signage. I'll explain a little bit about that later. First of all, who am I? So you know I've got a little bit of history, I might know what I'm talking about. So at the age of 9, I was a stallholder. I had Pet Rocks. My mum and dad were doing a bread run around the coast. And this is a Kenilworth bakery, the last of the old brick ovens. And this is before you had your Brumbies and your country style loaves at your shopping centres. You couldn't get bread like that anywhere. So my folks would take it to the markets and have a market stall. So I had a little table on the side and I had little Pet Rocks that I'd paint up, put a little sign saying Eumundi, your news, or little things. And we had pom-poms. That expanded into all sorts of other stuff. So I've been a stallholder for 28 years. I've sold orange juice, Pet Rocks, juggling equipment, skincare products, plants, t-shirts, garden gnomes, statues, all varieties of hot food from German sausages to pizzas to potato slinkies to my last 2 businesses that I sold off last year, which were poffages, little Dutch pancakes, and coffee. Great combination. I finished high school. I had an injury which took me out of action, and during that whole time, I was either working in the markets for my parents or running my own stalls. I was a stallholder at the Stafford markets in Brisbane and then in Jan Power's markets as well. So I was with Jan Power for a while in Brisbane, started with pancakes, moved into coffee from there. We started doing festivals and events. So for 3.5 years, I catered River Stage and did all the major festivals there. I learnt a lot about festival catering there. I still run the Garden Bar and Cafe at Finders Keepers, which is an artists and designers market that is only on twice a year in Brisbane. Definitely look that one up for any up-and-coming artists and designers. I managed Jan Power's Farmers Market in the middle of Queen Street Mall, which is a incredible environment to operate in because we bumped in during peak hour and we bumped out during peak hour. Had 100 stalls in there, ran that for 5 years with Jan until I finished up with Jan and left and started with Shane Stanley with the Cannon Hill Farmers Market. Started that market, grew it, but in that time a job came up advertised at Eumundi, and so I had to give the market to Shane, and I've moved into Eumundi, and now I am the business manager at the Eumundi Markets. My parents still have a stall in there. They're still doing poffages. My brother has a stall doing coffee, and my other brother has a stall doing the potato slinkies. So I'm their boss, which is great. Really looking forward to Christmas. It's going to be a good Christmas. A little bit about the Eumundi Markets. It started 35 years ago. It started with 3 stalls outside that hall. They had 8 customers, and they made $30. So it was a pretty good day. Fast forward now to the present, we have 330 stalls in our market, which is the original Eumundi market. But in the town of Eumundi itself, there are actually 6 markets operating at the same time. We are the original and we are the make it, bake it, sew it, grow it market, but the other ones can let any product in. So there's a bit of competition going on between our guys who make it all themselves and some international product in the other markets. So it's my job to highlight our market. So when you're in our town, you know where you are, you know what you're buying. We have 2.2 million visitors a year that come through the market. It's it's the 2nd largest tourist destination on the coast after Australia Zoo. And if you've ever been there during school holiday time and tried to find a car park, you'll know how busy it is. We have a categorization system. So, and it came in a few years ago to try and sort out who was selling what and how we can identify who may have products we don't want in the market. And we've got an A, B, C category. So our A category is a stallholder who would blow the glass bead and put that on the necklace. A B class category stallholder is somebody who would bring in components and make that necklace. A C category stallholder is somebody who would buy it in from Bali and stick it on the stall and say that they made it. So I'm going through a cleanup process at the moment to get the actual artists and designers in our market and remove some of the imports that have snuck in. So you guys are all entrepreneurs, and so I was asked today to do your business development through markets. So I'll do a quick run through about what markets are out there, because there's not just Eumundi, there's a whole lot of other ones, and what might suit your needs and what the customers are for each of those markets. And then I'll run through what's important to your business in a market. So normally we do the who, what, when, where, why. I've spun it around and we're a bit upside down. So what is a market? We've got your classic farmers markets. So it's all about fresh produce. You've got your craft markets, all about craft. You've got the combination of those two. Then you've also got food markets. So Eat Street. Has anyone been to Eat Street in Brisbane? It's a very good example of a food market. They've set it up quite well, great spaces. Then your other markets are your themed markets. So you might have a fish market, or you might have a designers market, which is particular to maybe women's fashion or something on those lines. And they might come up less often, whereas the other ones are more on a regular basis. The markets can break down into different times. You've got morning markets, you've got daytime, nighttime, you've got all day. And that changes your customer base. So your customers will be buying different things if they're morning customers, if they're daytime customers, or if they're nighttime customers. And I'll get to that point later as to who your customers are. What are markets about? 5 senses shopping. So you want to be able to go to a market, you want to be able to smell it, you want to be able to see it, taste it, feel it, hear it. You want all of your senses triggered. Otherwise, you'd probably go to a shopping centre, or you might go and buy online or go somewhere else. When you go to a market, this is what the customers are looking for. So if you set a stall up in the market, you need to try and see, am I triggering as many of these as I can? Am I finding a way to interact with the customer that will trigger all of their senses? People love coming to the markets. They love being a part of that community and being engaged by the experts in their fields, which is you guys selling your products. As I said, the morning market, when the markets are on, the morning markets are normally about your fresh produce. So they're normally, you've got your Yandina markets, you've got your Noosa farmers markets. They normally operate in those morning times, and it's normally about your locals coming for those shopping. Your daytime markets fall into more of your people doing shopping, looking for gifts, tourists coming through, having a look. And your nighttime market is your takeaway food. Now, we're running the twilight markets at Eumundi, which I know you're all coming to either tonight or next Friday night. Last year, we had 42 stalls. Those 42 stalls, 35 of them were food stalls. This year, my board of directors asked me to improve the market and put a bit of lift under it. We did that. I got 156 stalls last week, as well as other markets in the town opening with us. However, I had to offer the stalls to the retail guys at nighttime at a very low price, at just 25 bucks for a stall, because nighttime isn't about shopping. For anyone thinking of having a stall at the markets or at nighttime, it's great for promotion. So it's great to get your name out there, get your cards out there to talk to your customers, but it's really not where you'll make your bulk sales, so to say. It's more of a promotional night for anyone doing retail. If you're doing food, the nighttime markets are the way to go. There's a general trend at the moment out there where people want to eat out more often, and they are. You'll notice a lot of the shopping centres are starting to change their layouts to be more suited around food. There's more profits leaving shopping centres now in the belly than in the shopping bags. Where markets can be all over the place. So you've got indoor markets, you've got outdoor markets, you've got some on private land, you've got some on council land. What's significant about that? They're all going to have different rules. So you've really got to check into what rules and what you can do and what you can't do in the different locations. If you're on council land, they'll have restrictions that'll protect the neighbouring shops. So you might not be able to sell a particular product because it'll go in competition with somebody who's paying rent and is there long term, where you're just there once a week, so they have different rules. And also on private land too, you've got to just do your research as to what market you're going into to find out what restrictions and regulations there are around that. Also, it affects your setup. So if you're indoors, obviously, tables, make it look nice, make it fit in, make it a fun space. If you're outdoors, you've got marquee, you've got to think about lighting, you've got to think about wet weather, you've got to think about walls, you've got to think about wind, you've got to think about a whole lot of other different elements as to where the market's located. It can be in parks, buildings, streets, and my favorite is rivers. This one, I don't know how somebody over here wants to buy something over there, but I've yet to get to this one. It's, I think it's Vietnam, I think this one is. So who comes to our markets? Our locals, which is very important. We need to have our locals, for Eumundi, it's very important. We've lost a lot of our locals because we've lost our fresh produce, so I'm hopefully bringing that back to get more of our locals back. And we have a huge tourist environment. So a lot of our locals that I've spoken to and said, oh, you know, how often do you come to markets? Their answer is when my friend's in town visiting, or when I've got to show another visitor something on the coast, they'll take them to the Eumundi Markets. This is the who of our stall holders. And I'll get to this a bit later as well, of the different reasons why people become stall holders. But in the Eumundi Markets, having it run for 35 years, there's a lot of old stall holders in there. So my family have been in there for 30 years now. We've got one stall holder that was there on the very, I think it was something like the end of the first year she started working there, and she's still there now, who's our longest running stall holder. There's a lot of history. These people have built their businesses to operate here forever. This is their plan. They're not just coming and going. And as you can see, there's a 67% of our stalls are 9 years and under. So basically, you're looking at about 30% of our stalls have been there for a long time. So my advice to you would be to go into the Eumundi Markets, have a look and see what some of these older stall holders are doing and why they've been successful and why they've been able to be there for such a long time as well. Okay, why have a stall in the markets? 3 different reasons people have businesses in our market. One, it's their business. It's their full-time job. These people prepare or make stuff during the week, and then they sell it on these 2 days, and they go back and they prepare and make it for the rest of the week. They're committed to it. They invest into it. It's their business. Other people, it's a hobby business. They thought it would be fun. They want to do something social on the weekends, make a bit of money. They're not seriously as committed as our business people. But they enjoy it and they enjoy the experience, and they'll normally have a full-time job or another job during the week, and then they'll do this as a hobby business on the side. Or a stepping stone, which I think might be what would relate to you guys. I don't know your businesses, but a stepping stone, to give you a really good example, Boom Shanker. So Boom Shanker started in our market, would have been almost 20 years ago now, and her name's Dewey. Well, her original name is Katie, but her name's Dewey. She started with a little store where she got material in and made her own clothes. She now has, I think, 2 or 3 different shops opened up. She has a factory in India. She's now moved to India and lives, and she's pumping out massive amounts of clothes over there. She's taken her business from what started out as a hobby, turned into more of a serious business, and is now, she's at the point where I'm kind of in negotiations with her because she's now realistically got an international product coming into our market, but she did start in our market. So there's a bit of a grey area we've got to work between. But for a stepping stone from our markets into other businesses, there's a lot of successful stories. So the German Sausage Hut, they've opened a shop in Brisbane City. The Bagel Boys have opened a shop in the city as well. The Noosa Chocolate Factory that used to be here, they've opened 2 successful shops in Brisbane City. So they've tried and tested the market at the markets and then gone into the bricks and mortar retail. So I think it's 5 different pieces of advice that I'm going to give you now about operating a market stall. My first one is to be professional. Even if it's just a hobby business, be professional about it. Check into your licenses and your restrictions. Get your proper labeling. Make sure that your product is run through all the regulations. Pay your taxes. Do everything professionally. Operate professionally. Keep your money and accounts run professionally as well. My biggest advice is the guys who do run their stalls professionally, whether it's a hobby or whether it's a serious business, they go further. The guys who rock up and kind of throw it together on the spot don't have longevity and don't survive. So be professional in what you do. Even if you're just trialing out, and even if you think, oh, I'll just do this for a few months, Don't go in half-hearted. Be professional. Follow all the rules and requirements by the government, by the law, and by the market. Plan. I would recommend that you do a layout of what your store will look like. I recommend you would set it up at home first and have a look and see what works and what doesn't. Get your friends around and get them to pretend to be customers. Stand back from your stall and take a look back at it and see what it looks like. There's a lot of stall holders who haven't done that for a while, and you can see things starting to deteriorate or need improvement on their stalls. Definitely plan. Plan how many boxes you need. Try and minimize how much you're double handling, what you're loading and unloading. Can you have something set up so when you get to the market, you take it out, you put it on, you open, and it's the display cabinet, it's ready to go? Or do you have to sit there and you have to put each little item up and get them in all the little spots? So plan for a nice easy bump in, a nice easy bump out, and plan your storage in your vehicle. Plan how you're going to run your night, when you're going to take a break, who's going to look after your stall, how that's going to work. Put a bit of a run-through sheet. Jan always told me a market is like a theatre, and each stall plays their own character in that market, and the market as a whole is a wonderful production. It's an amazing production. But each character needs to know their role, and they need to know what they need to do in order to have the show as a whole be completed. So plan. Presentation. Now, presentation, I can't stress enough. Putting a table up and putting product on it is fine. You can make some sales at that point. But there's nothing that will draw that customer, that will engage that customer, that will trigger those 5 senses I spoke about earlier. Presentation is incredibly important. The finders keepers, they're all up and coming artists and designers, and there's 100 of them up in the old museum building. I run the garden bar and cafe section, so it's very expensive to get a stall in the food area because we have 8,000 people come through. All the food stalls make an absolute killing, but all the food stalls have to look incredible. They have to look amazing. So when the people come out, all the customers come out from the top who know what quality and know what presentation is about, come down and they take photographs of our food stalls because they've gone the extra mile to set it up. So I've recently had a friend who is running a coffee business, and he asked me to, can I give him a break and give him an edge into getting him into Finders Keepers? I ran the coffee and Finders Keepers for 6 years, and I gave that away to just manage it as an event and not do the coffee sales. But to give you some idea, we did 2,500 cups of coffee in 2 days at $4 a cup. It's a sensational little market for coffee. We had an amazing presentation. Now, he at that point was trying to do as many different markets as he could. And his setup, at the end of the day, he stood next to me and said, I haven't done very well. I said, I know you haven't. He goes, yeah, but at least I made it here. I said, you made it here, but have a look at your stall. He had a rubbish bin, was the very first thing that you see, then a table with half a tablecloth over it and a coffee machine. I didn't get a picture of it. I wish I did. This is 10 times better than what he had, but it's still a very, very simple setup. That's nice, that's cozy, that's fun. That's a professional setup. That's someone who's looked at it and gone, what will attract my customers? What people want to see things. People want to have something that doesn't look like your standard table and bench setup. They've got things hanging, they've got different levels, it might be a little bit too cluttered, I don't know, but presentation is incredible. Your presentation is important too. One of my irks, clean fingernails, especially people handling food. Just something simple like a clean fingernail can make a huge impact on a customer. Presentation of yourself, presentation of your stall. Signage is incredibly important. Not just to tell them how much it is or what it is, but to give them a bit of history about who you are or where the product came from or why the product's made this particular way. Something that gets them thinking that little bit more, something that gets them staying in your stall a little bit more to read something fun or to read something interesting about what it is that you've done. If you've made it yourself or if you're growing or whatever the case is, put some pictures up in your stall of you at work or the product being made or growing. Get the customer to feel engaged in what it is that you're doing with your product. Engagement. I think I've said the word engage, I don't know how many times today. It's about engagement. Another irk I have about store holders is chairs. I would love to ban chairs in the market, not for the customers, but for the store holders. I don't know how many times I've had a store holder come up to me and go, I didn't have a good day today. I go, oh, really? It was pretty busy. Yeah, I didn't have a good day. And I've seen that store holder sit and read the paper in their store. You've got to get up and you've got to engage with the customer. As I said before, the 5 senses. The customer has come to the market for that experience, for that sense of community, and for that engagement. If you sit behind your stall and think that your product will sell itself, then a market's not for you. That you can put your stuff online or put it into a shop. But if you're coming to the market, you've got to engage with your customer. You've got to stand there, you've got to ask questions, you've got to say g'day, you've got to talk about and sell your product, sell yourself, sell your product. You've got to get that connection with your customer. Samples are always a great way to get that customer into your store. Not too big a sample, just a nice small sample. Or get them to try something or have a product there that they can use or interact with. If you can get the customer engaged, that's the first step. After that, they'll make the decision if they want to buy it. You can sell it to them, you can do whatever, but get that engagement to get that customer to your store. And almost lastly is improve. Continual improvement. It goes across the board with all businesses, but with the market stalls, too many stalls get set up, go, how great is this? And they love it, and then they operate. But they don't take that time to go, okay, what worked, what didn't work? Okay, well, how come I keep getting customers here and no one here? How come I had that confusion with who was supposed to pay at what point and where they were picking up the order from? Constantly improve your systems, constantly change, constantly step out of your store, look back in it and go, oh, gee, that bag of rubbish at the back there, it looks terrible. You know, just have a look at some things and see from a customer's perspective. Have a look at what you planned and say, well, I'm bringing too many boxes, or maybe that box I'm bringing in can be turned into a cabinet. Constantly improve your stall as best you can. Most importantly though, you've got to enjoy it. You've got to have fun. You'll be passionate about your product. Enjoy this process too, because this is where you connect with your customer. This is where you'll get feedback from your customer. That's really important because that feedback you can put back into your product and adapt to whatever market that you might be in. Have fun with what you do. There was a gentleman I've met just recently, Gilbert, I can't remember his last name, Holzman, I think. And he said to me, there's 3 things: purpose, pleasure, profit. You have your purpose, which you do, your business. Put your pleasure into it and the profit will come. So make sure you have fun with what you do. That's it from me. I have business cards that I'll leave here as well. I'm very happy for anyone here to shoot me an email or a text message with any questions or any queries or any ideas that you might have or just want to run past. Please send it through. I'm very happy to help you guys because somewhere out there are my next store holders that are going to do an amazing job and take Eumundi Markets to the next level where I want to take it. So I'm happy to help and support you guys any way I can. Even if that means sneaking you guys in for maybe a free stall to get you guys started or kick-started. Excellent. Thank you very much.